we are. There we are. Here we go. Here we go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. Here we are on the road to a million. The road to a million on roadtoamillionShow.com. Losing my voice already. I haven't even started ranting yet. This is Daron Campbell. I am your real estate mentor. I'm the hardest working man in real estate. And so I'm here on the road to a million. I'm your host. I got my tribe checking us out on Facebook Live. I got you guys checking us out right there on roadtoamillionShow.com. You might be watching us on YouTube at Daron Campbell TV. We are having a good time because we're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to expand our minds. We're here to improve our brains, our bodies, and our bank accounts. And if we can help you do any of those things this much today, then we will have served our purpose. This is the Road to a Million show. And, we do this every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the idea is to help you grow yourself as a complete person. The goal is to be complete. And completeness involves, in my mind, in my theory, my philosophy is your brain, your body, and your bank account all have to kind of be in sync. There has to be a certain amount of cohesiveness to make you a complete person, and so I strive for that kind of stuff. You'll be interested to see what our list of upcoming guests is going to be over the next month or two, because my goal is to bring experts at various things into the studio and then go face to face and go toe to toe with these people and learn how they've achieved their level of success. So, success leaves clues. And what I mean by that is success has experts. And what we want to do is we want to bring some experts around, and we want to tap into their knowledge of how they became the expert, how they became the professional, how they became, proficient, efficient, a master. How did they become a master at what they do? See, what I want to do is I want to learn from the masters. So when I decided to get into the real estate business, I didn't want to learn from a guy who had just sold his first deal. I didn't want to learn from a guy who was making 20 grand a year. I wanted to learn from the guy who was making 500,000 a year. And so I'm going to tell you a story about that. I just learned that I did an observation recently, and I looked at I took a poll of my own self and decided what were the last 10 great things I learned. And I kind of made this list of all these things that I recently learned. And you know what's funny? I found that I learned the most and retained the most from the instances where somebody told me a story as opposed to telling me some facts. Does that make any sense? So it's kind of like that saying, facts tell, but stories sell. That's the way it really happens. I just in observing my own life, my own evolution, I've learned more from the stories than I have from the data. So I want to bring some people on to tell us their stories. So that's what's going to happen. This platform or this show is going to take a little bit of a shift over the next few months, and hopefully it'll permanently be that way. I want to bring in the masters. I always talk about mastery, right? Here's one of my favorite books. We talked about this before. Mastery. See that? See that? You see that, Nick? That's Mastery by George Leonard. Now, this book has been instrumental in my evolution. It's been instrumental to a lot of people that I know that are wildly successful, and it's something that you ought to read, because not only does it talk about how high achievers achieve, but it also talks about what the struggle is for people who want to achieve. Because chapter 3 is called America's War Against Mastery. You go, what are you talking about, war against mastery? I'm here to tell you that society is kind of moving against you when it comes to becoming great. In other words, there's not a lot of encouragement out there to become the maverick, to become the master, to become one of the super achievers. There's really more incentive out there for you to become a lazy, drifting bum with no money than there is to become great. And I think that, that's why we find that, somebody who's out there really trying to help people become great is super refreshing, and people are drawn to those kind of folks because it's the exception and not the rule. And that's a shame. That's a shame. But hopefully, we can, on this show, we can be part of that crowd that is going to help people overcome and become masters at something. Hey, my man Fern is watching. My man Ronaldo's over here watching on Facebook Live. You're right there. The new tribe is watching on roadtoamillionshow.com. I'm glad you're here. And so we cover a plethora of things, but I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to go through a few topics that we're going to bring experts on to talk about. I'm going to touch on them, and then I'm going to recruit an expert, a master, a king of the space to come in and discuss that topic with me. So today, I'm going to touch on a few different things, and then over the coming weeks, I'm going to bring in the gurus who can talk to you in depth about those things. And so I'm going to bring them on the show. We're going to talk to them. We're going to go head to head. We're going to go toe to toe. And here's what I really like to do. I like to get into people's business. I'm going to get in their business. I'm going to find out how they did what they did. And then I'm going to let you guys sort of hack those tricks and steal them and incorporate them into your life. You know what I found is that people who are wildly successful at things aren't intimidated by you or me. Isn't that funny? People that are doing things at the highest level aren't intimidated by you or me. It's only the insecure people who are intimidated by you or me because they don't really have 100% grip on what it is that they think they have. So think about that for a second. Think about the insecure folks out there. I just got off of the phone with a person who's wildly insecure. Okay, now ask me why they're insecure. Because that person is trying to bring me to a person, and that person can do some really big business, right? And okay, let's just be specific. Who cares, right? What are they going to get mad at me? They can't fire me, right? So here's the situation. All right, there's this real estate agent, and this real estate agent is we're going to call this real estate agent Lisa. Now, Lisa is a fairly, let's say Lisa's been in the business for about 5 years. I think that's about right. So 5 years in the business. And Lisa has spent a lot of time focusing on trying to make deals, but has spent very little time focusing on her level of expertise. So what Lisa really brings to the table is really just the ability to introduce transactions to people, to introduce opportunities to people. But Lisa has not worked on her ability to convert people or to convince people or to sell people. And as a result, Lisa doesn't really have a skill set. She's been granted this thing called a real estate license, which is fairly easy to get compared to a lot of credentials. And Lisa has spent very little time, learning how to sell. So Lisa is only good for the people that she can find and identify, and then hope that they see the light and that they'll buy something. And so there's very low probability every time she brings something to the table because she's not very skilled at convincing anybody of anything, and she really doesn't know anything special. So all she can say is, "Hey, look, I found this. Isn't that a good deal?" And she doesn't know why it's a good deal. She doesn't know if it's a good deal. She doesn't know up from down. She just calls herself a real estate professional with no real skill set. So Lisa has knows someone who happens to know someone with $20 million cash to spend on some real estate, right? Now, Lisa knows that I have access to inventory, meaning apartment buildings or shopping centers that this person's client can buy. So now let me just get clear with you. All right, I'm the guy who has access to apartment buildings or shopping centers or things like that investors might want to buy. Lisa knows another broker who has a buyer who can buy these things, right? Now, in the middle of all that, Lisa is not skilled at apartment buildings. She's not skilled at shopping centers. She's not skilled at selling office buildings. Again, Lisa's not particularly skilled at selling anything. So all Lisa has in the middle of this possible transaction is the fact that she knows me and she knows the other broker who has the client. Now, and so as the story goes, Lisa hears that I have access to this particular shopping center. She knows that this guy who has this big client has an appetite for shopping centers. So I tell Lisa about this opportunity that I'm putting on the market. Lisa goes and tells the other agent about the opportunity, and the other agent says, well, hey, I got a client for that. Why don't you introduce me to Daron and let's make a deal. Immediately, Lisa goes into panic mode. Now, why do you suppose Lisa goes into panic mode? Because she doesn't know what to do, because Daron has the seller. Let's call the other agent Fred. Fred has a buyer, and Lisa is just the person who knows me and knows the other broker, Fred. Now, all these, the entire construct of Lisa's skill set is that she just knows two people. She can't contribute any value to why this shopping center is a good opportunity. She can't translate that because she doesn't know. And she can't translate why this buyer should buy this property. She can't translate if this property makes sense for this buyer's portfolio. She can't look at this person's ability to buy and tell whether they're qualified to buy it or not. So we introduced the concept, and Lisa's like right in the middle, so she wants to control the action, right? So Daron, you can't talk to him, and he can't talk to you, and you need to hand it to me so I can hand it to him so he can give it to his buyer, and so okay, so we do that, and I hand it off, and then the buyer's interested. The buyer's interested. So the buyer's agent comes back, Fred comes back and says, hey, my guy wants that deal. So why don't you just, why don't you hook me up with Daron and let's get something started. And Lisa goes, whoa, wait. No. You can't talk to Daron. Let's do a three-way. Let's everybody get on the phone call. And the guy goes, okay, well, let's go ahead. Let's get on this call. So we get on the call. Okay, good. We exchange information. The guy's interested. A couple hours later, the guy says, hey, you know what? I got some more questions. Why don't you just give me Daron's number? Let's talk. Wait. No. I'll get him. I'll put you guys together. Anyway, long story short, Lisa's ego plus her lack of experience or expertise is bogging down the deal because she's bringing nothing to the table. She's got no skills. She's bringing no skill set to this equation. She's just the conduit, which makes her a very little value in the situation. And so as a result, she's got to cling to being the conversation bridge. She can't let anybody talk to anybody else because she's bringing no value to this particular table. Now, I can't tell you. I've actually got a couple of situations going on that are similar to that. But what's the moral of the story? You're only as valuable as the value you bring to a situation. I love, in the real estate business, it's so funny because people want to own other people. And you can't own anyone, ladies and gentlemen. All you can do is deliver value. And if you want to get paid in a big way, then you got to deliver some kind of big value, or somehow you're going to get filtered out. If at some point, eventually you're going to struggle to keep your position in a situation or in a transaction if you want to get paid, but you don't have any real value to deliver. Now, I could tell you 50 stories. I actually have 3 or 4 of those stories going on right now. And there are people who are failing to bring value to a situation, but they see the opportunity for a great payday, but they don't bring anything significant to the equation. So the first thing somebody wants to do when you're bringing little or nothing to the equation is cut you out or diminish your payday. And here's the funny thing. They actually have the power to do it. Why? Because the people with the knowledge or the people with the gold, the money, are in charge of everything. And the person who doesn't bring any knowledge, any value, or any money to the equation is subject to everyone else's decisions, everyone else's whim, everyone else's knowledge. You got to bring something to the table. That's the moral of the story. I talk to hundreds and hundreds of real estate agents every week, and there's an epidemic of lack of value being brought to the table. Everybody wants to get paid, but people don't want to make themselves valuable enough to have people want to pay them. Listen, so I live in this world of real estate now, and I coach in this world of salespeople, and everybody loves the idea of a great payday. Everybody loves the idea of a big paycheck, but here's what people don't tend to understand, and I think you need to understand this if you want to be paid like a valuable person. If I can deliver value to you, if I can deliver $2 worth of value to you every time you talk to me, and I want to charge you $1 every time I give you $2 worth of value, how often will you pay me that dollar? If every time you spoke to me, I could guarantee you made $2, would you pay me $1 every time I gave you that advice? I think you'd pay me every time, right? If as a real estate agent, I can show people how to buy property and make $100,000 profit every time they buy a piece of real estate from me, do you think they'd complain if I charged $25,000 to bring them that piece of property? If every time you bought a property from me, you made a profit of $100,000 and you knew you were gonna, how often would you be willing to pay me $25,000 for that property or for that information about that property? Every single time. And that's the equation that a lot of people don't understand or don't know. If you become skilled enough at what you do and you deliver quantifiable value, measurable value, then people will pay you as much as you want to charge up to that amount, up to that dollar amount. And if you just step back and look at things like that, you might get a refreshing stance on how business really works. If your boss, if your employer is getting $10,000 of value a month out of the work you do you think he's willing to pay you $5,000 for it? Absolutely he is. But you see, too many times people want to get paid $10,000, but they don't want to quantify or deliver value. You see, but too many times we want to get paid. We want the high paying job, but we're not willing to be quantified or measured or talk about how much value we're actually delivering. So I want to change the way you think. I want to change the way you think about how you get paid. I want you to start learning how to deliver value that's maybe even measurable dollar for dollar. I'm big into lead generation right now, right? I think lead generation and the skill set to convert leads is everything. It's everything right now. Why? Because everybody needs more customers. Everybody in every business I can think of needs more customers, right? So for essentially, let's just take me right here, right now. At Rollout Studios, Speedy is the guy who runs this studio, and the Road to a Million show lives here in this studio. Well, I'm essentially Speedy's customer, right? Now, Now, if you take a guy who owns a studio, and the way that studio makes big money is lots of customers who want to be in that studio, right? So if you can take a guy and say, hey, Speedy, what's a customer worth to you? And you say a customer's worth $10,000. My studio's worth $10,000 a month because the value that you can get out of being in this studio is $20,000 a month. So for me, let's say the studio's worth $20,000 a month to me to have access to. Well, if it's worth $20,000 a month in revenue to me, then how much do you think I'd be willing to pay to keep it or to have it? Think about it like that. Now, if Speedy's got 200 people competing for slots in this limited space, then he can charge people all the way up to the value they get for being here and fill the place up, right? Take a lawyer, for instance. Let's say a lawyer only has 10 hours a day of his time that he can give. But he knows that every time he represents a client, let's say it's a personal injury guy, every time I represent a client, that client is gonna make $50,000 to $100,000 if I represent them, right? So if I could tell you as a client, every time I represent somebody, they make between $50,000 and $100,000 in their case. They get settled for between $50,000 and $100,000. And my fee as a lawyer, because I know you're gonna make that kind of money, is $25,000. I'm gonna charge you $25,000, but you're gonna walk with $50,000 to $100,000 net in your pocket every time. Is that a good equation for the customer? It's a great equation for the customer. That customer will come and sign up with that attorney every time, and that attorney can then fill up his day with customers because he can say, look, I charge $25,000, but you're gonna make $50,000 to $100,000 every time. He never has to lower his price because he knows the value he delivers. If I know for a fact when you walk in my door, I can put $100,000 in your pocket, then I can comfortably charge you $25,000 every time and never compromise my price. Isn't that interesting? That's a simple way to think about value and whether you're delivering it or not. Okay, so in the lead generation business, okay, I'm diving headlong into the lead game because that's where business lives. My goal is to help every business that wants to get more customers than they can handle. If you got more customers than you can handle, then you can charge the maximum amount that the market will bear and keep your agenda full, keep your docket full, keep your appointment book full. So to me, I think this is where the world is going. And I think if you're not going to be on the front end of the lead generation game and the lead conversion game, you're going to get left behind because the marketplace is going to leave the people who don't participate behind. Okay, so hey, there's T Key. What's up, babe? The idea is leads rule the world. Lead generation is the biggest opportunity for any business. You see, because every business survives or fails based on what? The number of customers they have. I mean, Google, Facebook, the donut shop on the corner. They're only as strong as the number of customers that they have, right? If Google had no users, Google would be worthless. Google has 1 billion users, so Google is one of the most valuable companies on planet Earth. What's the delta between the company that's worth nothing and the company that's the most valuable company on planet Earth? Customers, users, right? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to create, find, use, utilize, develop systems that use the internet and the new power of the social media platforms combined with the internet to generate leads that make businesses sustain themselves. Every business survives if it's got enough customers. Every business fails if it has too few. Does that make any sense at all? So my new major is lead generation. Okay, I'm going back to college. It's the College of Daron Campbell. And my major is lead generation because we all live or die by the number of leads we generate or have. Okay, so now if if I could tell you this, if I said to you, T, you're a consultant, and every customer, every consulting client you have pays you $10,000, right? But if I said to you, hey, T, if every customer is worth $10,000 to you, and I charge you $5,000, but I will give you a new customer every week, would you pay me that $5,000? If that customer is worth $10,000, and I offer you one new customer a week, but I want $5,000 every time I give you that customer, would you say yes to that customer? Would you say yes to Daron Campbell? Would you pay Daron Campbell Lead Generation Inc.? Would you pay me my fee? Absolutely you would. If I go to the donut shop guy and I say, Mr. Donut, hey, donut man, how much is a customer worth to you? He goes, well, the average customer buys a dozen donuts, and a dozen donuts is, how much is a dozen donuts these days? Marlon, how much is a dozen donuts? Like $10, I guess. $10? Is that what donuts cost these days? I haven't bought a donut in probably 10 years. All right, so who bought a donut recently out there? Somebody tell me how much a dozen donuts cost. I don't think Marlon knows. $10? Is a freaking dozen donuts that cost $10 these days? Is that where we are in the world? Anyway, somebody in the tribe, tell me how much a dozen donuts cost. How much is Krispy Kreme these days? Anyway, whatever. let's say Marlon's right, and a dozen donuts cost $10. I can't believe people paying $10 for donuts these days. I mean, a donut used to cost like a quarter or something. What? T said 5. T says 5. I believe T. I don't believe Marlon. All right, so you can get a dozen Krispy Kreme for $5. Okay. Now let's assume that Mr. Donut Man charges $5 for a dozen donuts, and I tell him, hey, Mr. Donut Man, I can send you an unlimited number of customers, but I'm going to charge you $2 for every customer I send you. Now, he charges $5 for a dozen donuts, and those donuts might cost him $1 to make, right? So it costs him $1 to make, and I'm charging him $2 to send him a new customer. So he's spending $3 to make a dozen donuts, but he's profiting $2. He profits $2. So every time I send him a customer, he makes $5. $2 turns into $5, 2 of which go in his pocket as profit. $2 out to Daron, $2 net in his pocket. $2 spent, $2 net. So he makes 100% return on his money every time he buys that lead. Is it worth it for him to pay Daron for those leads?
No, because they're $8.
Aha! Wait a minute. Interruption. Marlon is quick on the keyboard. He says Krispy Kreme dozens are $8. T, you haven't bought any donuts in a while either. So that's actually a good thing. We're like, I'm not endorsing donuts around this joint. Before watch, somebody's gonna call me and say the donut joint wants to sponsor your show. I might have to talk to him. But the fact is, all right, Marlon's got the real facts. $8 for a dozen donuts. But anyway, let's just say we're back to the $5 equation. $2 for $5. Would you trade $2 to get $5 back? Bingo. All right. So customer lead generation to get more customers is the holy grail. And I'm telling you guys, that's where the future is going. The future is in how, and since things are so measurable, this is why this is important. Because today we have metrics, we can measure things. So I can say, hey, Mr. Donut Man, I'm going to do a campaign. I'm going to have people come in and use this promo code or this coupon or this whatever and tell you, I'm buying this dozen donuts because I heard about it on Daron's show. The promo code is blah, blah, blah. The promo code is Daron. So now that donut guy and Daron both know that new customer was generated by Daron, right? So now I know I sent him 100 customers this week. So he knows he sold 100 dozen donuts because of me. So he knows that he owes me $2 for 100 different customers. He made $500. I made $200. He netted $200 pocket. Did that equation make sense for everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, lead generation is the future. Lead generation via the new vehicles, social media, internet, artificial intelligence is the future. And so for any business you can imagine, this is going to be where they go for generating business. It's my new sermon. It's my new thing. It's all about the leads, ladies and gentlemen. For real estate agents, you know where I come from, real estate, right? For real estate agents, it's all about getting more leads, converting those leads, and being able to measure how you got those leads. Whoa, that's heavy. That's heavy. We're going to spend a lot of time in the lead generation space, ladies and gentlemen, because that's the holy grail. Listen, there are so many failing businesses out there. There's so many failing salespeople out there. I want to change that whole game. I want to change the game for salespeople, for businesses. I want to help you get more customers. So we're going to spend a lot of time on how to get more customers. And we're exploring some things. Marlon doesn't sleep at night anymore, you guys, because I got that dude researching and planning and plotting. And our goal is to help you, to help Speedy, to help every business you can imagine get more customers so they survive a little better, so they get more revenue. See, revenue is what everyone is should be consumed with. Revenue, lead with revenue. That's the sermon I preach all the time. You got to get more customers so you get more revenue so that you can survive better, so that you can pump more money into your business and thrive. If Microsoft had no customers, they wouldn't have $200 billion in cash in the bank. Does that make any sense? That is crazy. That's a crazy amount of cash. Matter of fact, we should look it up. See how much cash Microsoft has on hand now. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, Apple, I'm sorry, Apple. Microsoft is not far behind, but Apple, ladies and gentlemen. Apple has cash reserves.
205.5 billion.
Apple has $205.5 billion in cash sitting around. Now, I know it's going to blow your mind. That's blowing my mind right now. This is cash. This is like cash on the side. It's like reserves, because that's their war chest. That's their ability to go out and gobble up any company they want. They can go out and buy most companies on planet Earth if they wanted to. They could retire much of the national debt if they wanted to. Apple is the first company to have a valuation of $1 trillion. First company in the history of planet Earth to have a valuation of $1 trillion. Does your brain even count that high? Can your brain even fathom $1 trillion? It really can. Nobody's really can. I mean, you can say it and you can say, hey, I got it, I understand. No, you don't. If we put $1 trillion in this room in $100 bills, me and Marlon would both drown. We'd be dead, because $1 trillion would fill this room up and we couldn't breathe. Anyway, the point is, Apple has, so whatever business you're in, you need to think about customers. How do we lead with more customers? How do we grab more customers? How do we generate more leads so that we get more customers, so that we generate more revenue, so we can reinvest more money into the business and scale? I know you didn't expect this topic today. Matter of fact, I didn't know I was going to get into it that deeply today, but I'm revealing some future stuff to you right now. We are going hot and heavy into the lead generation subject. That's where we're going. We're going to be teaching you how to generate more leads, how to get more customers, how to generate more revenue, and how to grow your business exponentially through lead generation. And there's some tools, ladies and gentlemen. There's some tools out there. There's some tools, some tools coming your way that'll help you do it. And if you're not out in front, if you don't get there first, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And so the idea is, my new little saying is, you better keep up so you don't have to catch up. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to be back in 2.2 minutes, and we'll talk more about it. This is the Road to $1 Million show. I'm Daron C. Campbell, the hardest working man in real estate, your real estate mentor, and I will be right back.
Please don't make me go back to LA.
I
don't care where you go, Bojack, but I can't have you around here. You make me too sad.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Road to a Million show. I'm Daron C. Campbell, the hardest working man in real estate, your real estate mentor. And this is the Road to a Million show. We're at roadtoamillionshow.com. We are on Daron Campbell TV on YouTube. We're on Daron Campbell Coaching on Facebook Live. I got the tribe. Ronaldo's always on the road watching. Angie's in some symposium she's supposed to be paying attention to. She ain't paying attention because she's watching us. I got T, who's always on point. We got a bunch of regulars and a whole bunch of people who are starting to catch on, ladies and gentlemen. And they're giving good commentary. They're saying, hey, this is valuable. They're saying, you're teaching me something, dude. And you know what? If that's what's going on, then I'm serving my purpose. I feel like it's up to me to give back a little bit and help some people get better. So on the Road to a Million show, our goal, our objective is going to be to help you learn, help you develop, help you improve your brain, your body, and your bank account. Those are the 3 B's: your brain, your body, your bank account. Let's get better in all departments. All of them are a struggle. Nothing great happens overnight. You don't become brilliant at anything overnight. You don't get in a fantastic shape overnight. You don't become a wealthy person with a bunch of passive income and a high net worth and great credit overnight. So why don't you commit to a process? Because everything worth having is worth going through the process. And here's the thing. There is no magic pill. There is no instant success. It's a process. It's a process. And so at the end of the day, you got to be willing to put in the work. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you put in the work, but we're going to give you a little bit of a head start. I want to give you a cheat sheet. You see, every week, I want to give you a couple of cheat sheets to help you do the work a little smarter, a little more efficiently, a little easier. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have people similar to myself or better or smarter or richer come and tell you how they did it. And then my goal is always to pull back the curtain and show you some stuff that they don't want you to know. Show you some stuff that they aren't trying to share with the rest of us. You see, I feel like I got to be the people's champion. I feel like I got to be the one who kind of reveals some things that you might not have otherwise heard anywhere else. And so that's why we're talking about stuff. So today we're talking about, this has morphed into this referendum or this speech or this diatribe on lead generation. And the fact that we all, in whatever business we're in, whatever business you're in, we all thrive on customers. We live on customers. And if you don't have enough customers, your business will perish. It will die. And the difference between the businesses that thrive and the businesses that absolutely flame out is customers. Customers. And the number of customers that you have the ability to properly service. So the wealthiest company on planet Earth, Apple, valued at over $1 trillion now, has millions of satisfied customers. And the companies that will all go bankrupt this month didn't have enough satisfied customers. So when we get to the nitty gritty of what really goes on, it's all about the customers. You know, one of my favorite books, T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Can you guys see that, tribe? Can you guys see that? Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, right? Great book. Well, that book only became a international bestseller because T. Harv had thousands and thousands of what? Customers who bought the book, right? It's with anything. You write books, you sell donuts, you sell iTunes songs. It's all about the customers. Now, what I think we're about to do is go into an era of a new way to generate customers. And if you're not part of that wave that's helping generate new customers and clients and paid patrons, you're going to perish in the new economy. You and your business are going to suffer in the new economy because this is where we're going. What happens? What has Amazon done to your favorite retailer? Stolen their what? Customers. Why? Because they've made it easier for the people to buy. Where has Sears gone? Where's Kmart? Amazon ate their lunch. Basically, Amazon stole their what? Customers. How did Amazon happen to steal customers from Sears and Kmart and put them out of business? Anybody know? Amazon made it easier for you to do what? Buy the same products. And since they made it easier and they streamlined the system that allows you to buy their products easier and quicker, they also added one more dimension to it. They made it cheaper for you to buy. So not only did they make it easier for your customer to buy from them, they made it cheaper for your customer to buy from them. What was left? What was left for the customer to do? They left the customer no choice but to leave Sears and Kmart. Sears and Kmart stood around and watched while Amazon ate their lunch. How did the world's largest video store get wiped out? How'd they get wiped out? Blockbuster Video had 6,000 stores 10 years ago. 6,000 stores 10 short years ago. They were a juggernaut. They were a behemoth. They were a monster. And here we are 10 years later. And when was the last time you walked into a Blockbuster store? If anybody can find an open Blockbuster store, send me a picture. I'll give you $100 if you can go find one. You know why you can't find one? Because they don't exist. You know why they don't exist? Because Netflix ate their lunch. Netflix offered itself to Blockbuster. Did you know that? Did you know Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix? You guys didn't know that, did you? Netflix said, hey, Blockbuster, we have a way. We think we figured out how to get people to buy videos in a streaming fashion over the internet. And you know what arrogant, egotistical Blockbuster said? Wait a minute, let me write that down because we're going to talk about ego in a minute. Arrogant, egotistical, 6,000 store Blockbuster CEO said, that's not going to go anywhere. That internet streaming thing, that'll never catch on. What do you think he's doing right now? Like clinging to his last 10 million bucks, probably, because Netflix came along and wiped them out. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe the theme of this show really is, what's the next thing and how can we get there first? Stop. Think about it. What's coming? What's the future hold? And how can you get there first? How can you get there ahead of time? How can you get on board early? That's the deal. That's the deal. The way that I've decided I can help people, or I'm going to help people, is I'm going to help you use the new way of getting new customers or clients or paid patrons in the new fashion, using the new tools. What are the new tools? The internet, artificial intelligence, automated systems that leverage you. Okay? There are tools today that you need to know about that are going to help the thriving businesses get more customers and maybe take yours from you. Either you better join them or they're going to eat your lunch too. So maybe what we can all do together is get on the front end, get on the cutting edge so that we don't become the Blockbusters. Maybe we need to be part of the Netflix army so that we don't become the Sony Walkman. We become part of the iTunes, iPod generation. Think about it like that. Look at whatever business you're in and say, where's that going? And how do I get there first? That's it. That's it. You want to hear the key to success? You want to hear the keys to the kingdom? You want to know the secret to everlasting wealth that'll change the way you live? Figure out where your market is going and get there first. Change is happening right in front of your face. Are you shifting? Are you adjusting? Okay, let me give you another story. I love stories, right? Let's talk stories. So I just gave you the Blockbuster Netflix story. Did I finish that story? Yeah. Netflix approached Blockbuster in the early days and said, you can acquire us. And I think the price tag, they wanted like $100 million or something like that. And Blockbuster chuckled and said, go away, flea. You got nothing for us. Don't you know who we are? We're Blockbuster Video. Okay, now Blockbuster essentially wiped out all of the mom and pop video stores, right? So they basically ate all of their competition. But what they failed to do was look to the future and decide, how do we go there? Because look, the world's ever changing, right? The world's changing every day, right? You know, remember the days of the early cell phones? Remember the early cell phones? I knew this one guy at UCLA, this guy named Albert. Albert was the only person I knew that had a mobile phone. Now that mobile phone, we used to call it a brick because it was bigger. It was bigger than this can here. It was like a big old block. And Albert was always trying to pretend to be a big shot. So he was walking around with this phone acting like he was talking on his phone. But he wasn't talking on the phone. He was just holding that phone up to his ear trying to be a big shot. But because those phone calls cost like $3 a minute when he had that brick phone. So needless to say, no, Albert wasn't talking to anybody on the phone. Albert was more broke than me, and I only had like $8 in college. And so, okay, but you remember that, right? So that was what the mobile phone was back then. And then somebody thought, one day everyone's going to have one of those things. So a lot of people jumped into that space and into that business because they thought the mobile phone is the thing of the future. Everyone's going to have one day. And so it evolved into the car phone and remember the Motorola flip phone? I remember when I got my first Motorola flip, and then they turned into the Blackberries and the you remember all that stuff, right? And then it came down to the smaller the phone, the better. Like then the flip phones became little. I remember I had this little feminine flip phone. It was like this, it looked like a little cigarette lighter. I looked like a little woman holding that thing. I had to hold it like a cup of tea. But that was where we thought the future was going. The smaller the phone, the better. Marlon's over there cracking up. Remember? But you remember, right? You remember when the phones got little? And you're forced to think, well, they're only going to get smaller and smaller. I better go get me one of those little bitty phones. My phone looked like this, and I had to hold it like this. Hello? I used to have to hold my little phone like this. I figured I better get one because that's where the future is. And so I went from the nice Motorola flip. I thought it was like looking like, James Bond. And then I went to that little bitty phone. I had to hold like a little teacup. And then today, flash forward, here we are. Phones aren't so little anymore. Look, there's my phone. But it's a smartphone. Wow, who knew that? Who knew that was coming? Now, think about the future. Now, everything you do, I want you to stop and think about where does that seem to be going, and how can I get there first? Okay, apply that. Put that overlay on everything you do. Where is this going? And how can I get there first? Think about that. Think about it. Where is the mobile phone going? And how can you get there first? See, I don't know a lot of people knew that the mobile phone was going to basically start to replace the computer. Think about it. The mobile phone can do almost anything your computer can do, and the days of a desktop computer are quickly shifting. I don't know if I'm going to say going away, but isn't there a shift? Aren't they now making mobile phones that are a little bit bigger, but basically they're trying to wipe out your laptop and eliminate your desktop? That's where that's going. So, in your business, where's that going? Okay, let me tell you another story. You ready? I got another story for you. Okay. A gentleman, I think it was about 27 years ago, and I got to figure out his name, but he decided that the internet was going to change the travel business. The internet was going to change the travel business. And if he ushered it in, he could be first to get there, and he could really make some money. So I hope I get the company correct. But this gentleman started a company called Travelocity. Now, Travelocity was designed so that people could stop calling the travel agent and start booking their travel on their own from their computer at their house or at their office. You could eliminate the need for a travel agent and replace that need with your computer and go directly to the airline or the hotel and book it yourself. So what did this guy essentially do? He decided, this is where travel is going, and here's how I'm going to get there first. He invents Travelocity and basically wipes out the travel agent industry. Gone. Poof. It's gone. When's the last time you called a travel agent? When's the last time you called up a travel agent to book your ticket to Chicago or Miami? You don't, do you? It virtually doesn't exist. The travel agency is a super specialized thing now. And if you're not booking a trip for 400 people, you don't need them. And that industry is gone. This is maybe 20 years. This is maybe 20, 25 years. An entire industry. There are people who spent their whole lives being travel agents, and now that industry is eliminated. Now, let me continue the story. That same individual or group of individuals invented this new thing that came out a few years ago called Zillow. Uh-oh. What? You telling me the same people that created Travelocity is the same core group of people that created Zillow? The answer is yes. What do you think they invented Zillow for the purpose of doing? How is it you say you make a living? You know who most of my followers are? What business most of my people are in? The real estate business. What do you think Zillow was invented to do? Eliminate the need for you. That's what Zillow would like to do. Zillow would like to eliminate real estate agents. As funny as it is, while they use real estate agents and they endorse real estate agents and they let real estate agents advertise and they sell leads to real estate agents, the global objective of a Zillow is to eliminate the need for real estate agents. Don't you see it happening? Can't you look at it and observe? Don't you know Zillow will now buy the house from you directly? Zillow is making a very, very blatant attempt. It's not even subtle. They're making a blatant attempt to wipe out the real estate agent industry. They want real estate agents gone. They want everybody who buys and sells a house to use Zillow to do it. And then what will that do? What that'll do is, basically, I think if they had to draw the perfect picture, they would say, no more independent real estate agents out there charging 6%. Real estate agents are just representatives now, and they work for us, and we pay them a salary, and then you just basically work as an inside sales rep for Zillow. That's, I think, what they would like to see happen. Now, how do you prevent that from taking you out? How do you prevent that from eliminating your job or your profession as a real estate agent? One word: value. What kind of value are you bringing to the table that makes it so that a person says, no, Zillow, I'm not relying on you. I want a professional. I want Daron Campbell, a guy who knows the market, knows where I should be going, knows where I should be pricing my property, can go out and help me get the highest price that the market will bear. He's worth paying for. So Zillow can't outsource me. But that only applies if I'm delivering value that justifies it. Look, if somebody's selling a house for $500,000 and I'm trying to charge 6%, that means they got to pay me $30,000 to sell that house, right? What makes me worth that $30,000? Didn't we talk about this in the first segment? The only thing that makes me worth that $30,000 is if I'm delivering more than $30,000 in value to that homeowner. If Zillow says, hey, you know what, we'll write you a check right now, because Zillow will buy your property. Zillow says, hey, I'll buy your property right now for $400,000. And then they sit down and they meet with Daron Campbell and say, hey, look, Zillow will buy our house right now for $400,000. I have to be able to say, hey, that's great, but I can sell your house for $500,000. So I just justified the $30,000 I'm going to charge them because I'm going to put an extra $70,000 in their pocket. That's the only reason I can exist as a real estate agent. That's the only reason I will continue to exist as a real estate agent. I deliver more value than the cheaper alternative. I justify my value by bringing my customer more value than the dollar I charge. If I can't get $30,000 out of my client for long if I don't deliver at least $30,001 for my service. You understand? If you don't look at your business like that, you're going to be the next one to be outsourced. You're going to be the next one to be commoditized. You got to deliver some value that people say, hey, that dude right there is worth the price. That lady right there is worth the commission. Otherwise, you go the way of Blockbuster. Otherwise, you go the way of all the companies that have been wiped out by Amazon, by Apple, by Microsoft, by my next story, Uber. Uh-oh. There's a sore subject. Do you know, oh man, I was hearing some terrible stories. My 2 daughters live in New York, and I have heard that cab drivers have been committing suicide because they can't make a living anymore. Uber has taken an industry and flipped it on its ear. New story. Somebody came up and somebody thought about the idea that said, wait a minute, let's see. Let's look at the trend. The trend is that every human being over the age of 5 pretty much has what in their possession at all times? Smartphone. Every human being, think about it. Who do you know that's walking around without a phone? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody, right? Everyone you know has a smartphone. So somebody sat back and said, since everybody has a phone, then everyone has access to the internet. So if everyone has access to the internet, I can use GPS and make everybody who has a car a potential driver. And then he said, okay, now if I can put that driver together with that customer and I can use this internet to identify the closest driver to the closest customer, then I can create something called Uber and put those 2 people together. And suddenly, a person doesn't have to call a cab. They don't have to wait for the cab. They don't have to go to a special place to get the cab. The driver will come to him. Uh-oh. Think about that. He just thought to himself, let's just use the United States as an example, since we're like maybe out in front from a technology standpoint. We now have 300 million people. Let's just say 200 million of them are over the age of 5. I'm just giving, that's a big population under the age of 5. It's really not, that's not accurate. Let's just say there's 200 million people. That means 200 million people have a mobile phone on them, on their person at all times. What does an innovator do? An innovator says, what can I create that gives everybody the opportunity to use my service? Let me think about it. Everybody, there's this thing called the cab industry. Everyone has to call a cab. They gotta call the cab. They gotta wait for the cab, or they gotta go to a spot to try to hail a cab. How can I make life easier? Let me think about it for a second. Everyone's got a mobile phone, which means everyone tends to be connected to the internet, which means if I connect the drivers to the internet and I connect the people who are walking around with mobile phones to the drivers, I can get a driver to that person in 5 minutes, and that's better than a cab experience. Interesting, right? Hey, I've had some interesting cab experiences. You ever try catching a cab in New York City after midnight? Try being an African-American man trying to catch a cab after midnight in New York City. I remember my friends and I, having to be 3 African-American men after midnight trying to catch a cab, 2 hours, no cab. The dead of winter. We watched 22 cabs drive right by us and not pick us up. Well, I could say, see, you get what you get, cab drivers, but I'm not gonna do it like that. I'm just gonna say the guy who came up with Uber came up with a better idea. He came up with an idea that doesn't particularly discriminate against somebody who the cab driver doesn't like the looks of. At the end of the day, the moral of the story is the guy says, wait, what are people using? What are people using on a daily basis? And how can I create something that makes their life easier? And let me go about the business of inventing that. Now, what are you doing in your business to look to the future? Where is this going? And how can I get there first? I love that. I love that. I mean, I read it somewhere or I heard it somewhere, and that's like my theme song. That's my new theme song. Where is this thing going, and how can I get there first? Think about that. You know, we're entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs. You guys are watching me because you're entrepreneurial. Come on, look. The average employee is not listening to this show. Average employee is thinking of the road to Friday's paycheck. You guys are on the road to $1 million. That's different. There ain't that many $1 million jobs out there paying every Friday. The road to $1 million is paved with entrepreneurship. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you some pearls of wisdom about how an entrepreneur really thinks. The Uber dude thought everyone's got a smartphone. People need rides. Cabs are inconvenient and stinky and they discriminate. How can I hack that game? And he went about the business of trying to figure it out. And he came up with Uber, and Uber is valued at, I think Uber is valued at $4 or $5 billion now, or something like that. Oh, and the byproduct, Yellow Cab filed for bankruptcy last year. Yellow Taxi, the largest taxi company on planet Earth, filed for bankruptcy protection last year. Now, you think Uber is a game changer? You think that guy sent some ripple effect through the marketplace? Now, how can you turn this around, entrepreneurs, and say, what am I doing? Where is this going? And how can I get there first? That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about customers. We're talking about lead generation. We're talking about how to get out in front. I want your business to thrive. I want your business to grow. I want you to win this game. But you better be future thinking or it's not going to happen. You need to be thinking 2 steps ahead because somebody else is already thinking of it. Somebody else is already thinking of how to put you out of business. Somebody else is already thinking about how to commoditize you. And that's really what's going on, you guys. New technologies, these shifts in technology are mechanisms that will change industries and will wipe people out so that other stuff can come in and take its place. The world's getting smarter. Technology's getting faster. Cars will be driving themselves soon. Look, I got a car that drives itself already. The day is coming when cars will be driving themselves and you'll be able to do anything and everything. You'll be able to buy anything and everything from your computer or your phone. Think about where this is all going and where you fit in. You sell real estate. Real estate's changing. There's these things called iBuyers. I'm going to bring an iBuyer representative on this show pretty soon and tell you how these iBuyers, these are companies that are buying blocks of real estate. And again, they got designs on trying to change the way the brokerage game is played. They want to get rid of the brokers. They think we all make too much money. They're trying to change the game. Every game is changing. How's that going to affect you? My man Ronaldo, he's on here every day. Ronaldo's part of the tribe. He drives a truck. Well, where's trucking going, Ronaldo? Tesla has now invented an 18-wheeler that has a 500-mile battery that has autopilot. Wait a minute. What? Autopilot, 500-mile radius that it can travel without a driver. Where's your industry going? Where's your job going? Think about it. Think about it. All right. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to take 3 or 4 minutes. I want you to digest some of that information. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the future. And then I'm going to touch on all the different kinds of experts I'm going to bring to you because we got to get out in front, ladies and gentlemen. The road to $1 million is paved with entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are forward thinkers. And forward thinkers are thinking, what's coming next? And how do I get there first? Where is this going? And how do I get there first? We're going to take a break. I'm Daron C. Campbell, the hardest working man in real estate, your real estate mentor, your technology guru, your lead generating king. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Just don't know what I'm supposed to be.
You'll figure that out. I'm not worried about you.
And we are back. This is the Road to a Million, roadtoamillionshow.com. I'm Daron C. Campbell, the hardest working man in real estate. I'm your real estate mentor, but we're talking about the future. We're doing a little future casting right now. And we're talking about where industry is going. And you might want to think about, where's your industry going? If you're not thinking about what the future holds for your industry, you might wake up and find yourself behind the 8 ball, because the game is changing. Everything we do is changing. Every industry is undergoing a shift. The question is, where are you at? Where are you gonna be when it shifts? How is it shifting right now under your feet without you even knowing it? Think about that. The way every kind of business is being done is changing. The question is, are you changing with it? Are you making the shift so that you're out front, ready for the changes that are going to happen, ready for the shifts that are going to happen? Where is this thing going, and how can you get out in front of it? How can you get there first? How can you be first in line when your industry changes? So let's talk about that, because every game is shifting. Hey, my man Serpa's checking us out on Facebook Live. What's up, Dave Serpa? That's one of my main dudes. Love that guy. Hey, so we're talking about industry. We're talking about how it's all changing. Real estate is changing. iBuyers are trying to buy up blocks and blocks of properties without the realtor. Zillow is offering to buy your property without the realtor. They're trying to cut the realtor out. The guy who founded Zillow wiped out the travel agent business. A bunch of travel agents unemployed had to find another thing to do because the internet allowed him to create something that wiped out an entire industry. Gone. Poof. Okay? Uber has wiped out an entire industry. Yellow cab, bankrupt. Uber, the internet, the smartphone, poof, industry, gone. And if you just woke up as a cab driver a year ago and suddenly Yellow Cab filed for bankruptcy and laid off 112,000 cab drivers, you might have been a casualty. Were you thinking ahead? You got to start thinking ahead. You really got to get yourself out in front. Is an iBuyer or a Zillow buyer going to wipe your business out in 2 years? Or is there going to be no need for the business that you do or the way you do it? Are you a real estate agent or a salesperson or a former travel agent who's not delivering enough value to justify your fee? Look, we as real estate agents are in this business because we like the kind of living we can make selling real estate. We get paid handsomely to deliver on our promise, which is to help people buy and sell pieces of real estate. We charge a lot. There are people who are chipping away at us trying to wipe us out. And if you don't become one of those people who can deliver massive value, then you're going to get wiped out too. They're trying to wipe you out. And you have to differentiate yourself and be someone who delivers constant, consistent value that justifies your price, or you will be commoditized as well. Now, who's the travel agent that still exists? It's the travel agent that brings so much value to their client and who has such great service that they justify their existence. So, for instance, American Express has something called the Centurion Concierge. Well, that's a travel agent, that's a travel service at American Express that delivers so much value that people are still willing to pay for it. They will book your hotel. They will book your limo. They keep track of all of your favorite things, and then they make sure all those things are arranged for. They deliver on such a high level that it still makes sense for American Express to have them. But the people just doing basic stuff, just want to fly coach, just want to stay in a Holiday Inn, that travel agent, it doesn't exist. The need for that travel agent is gone. The internet, Travelocity, Orbitz, Trivago have wiped them out. They were commoditized. They weren't bringing anything special. As that person on the other phone used to call and say, hey, I want to book a trip to Chicago, and they weren't very valuable, and they put you on hold for 12 minutes, and they didn't have a great attitude, and they didn't give you anything special. And now they're gone. American Express Centurion travel still exists because I could call right now and say, hey, I want to go to New York. And they will say, okay, Mr. Campbell, we know you like the Omni in New York. We know you like to travel in Uber Black. We know that you want to get a late checkout everywhere you go. We know that you like a king-size bed. We know that you like a view of Times Square, and we got it all taken care of. Here you go, Mr. Campbell, done. Now, that's service on a level that's different than a travel agent. Hello, hold on a second. Let me go try to figure that out. That's gone. That person's gone. Commodity's gone. A commodity is cheap. Something of value is different. Sears and Kmart sold commodities. They sold the average thing, right? Poof, they're gone. Amazon has wiped them out. Why? Because Amazon has found a cheaper way to deliver on that same set of commodities. Now, why is Bloomingdale's still in business? Why is Nordstrom still in business? Because they deliver on a different level. I know somebody who wore a pair of shoes for a year, broke the shoe because they probably got too fat to wear the damn shoes, took the broken shoe back to Nordstrom. They said, thank you very much. Here's your money back. Well, that's a different level of service, right? Nordstrom delivers on a different level. Bloomingdale's delivers on a different level. They aren't commoditizing things. They're delivering something different, and people will pay more to get that level of service. But when you become commoditized, people won't pay for you anymore. So if you're a real estate agent that is just generic, if you're a real estate agent who's just an order taker, a real estate agent that thinks you're just going to play matchmaker, deliver no value, you're becoming a commodity real fast. Zillow is making you a commodity. You got to decide how you're going to stand out, how you're going to be different, how you're going to deliver on a different level, or you will be obsolete. I promise you. And it might be sooner than you think. Now, how do you prevent that from happening? Become valuable. Become valuable on a different level. Now, how does that happen, Daron? What do you mean? You give us some answers, man. Listen, the way you become valuable, like as a real estate agent, let's use that as an example. I know a lot of you sell other things or in other entrepreneurial businesses, but let's use the real estate game, for instance. How do you become a real estate agent that does not get commoditized by Zillow or by the iBuyer platform? Well, in my opinion, what you need to become is an absolute expert. Now think about it like this. An absolute expert is someone who can bring something different to the table than just the basic information. Hey, there's a house for sale in French Valley. My man Serpa is the king of French Valley. Well, if you just are another person who can only deliver information about what is for sale in French Valley, you're a commodity. But if you are a specialist in French Valley and you know that the population of French Valley has gone from 82,000 people to 94,000 people in the last 12 months. And you know that the average cost per foot in French Valley has gone from $212 to $262. And you know that those last 15 homes sold, and I know that they sold, I know why they sold, I know the people that sold them, and I know where the trend is going. And here's why, because I focus on French Valley, I'm the absolute expert in French Valley. Then people will say, hey, that guy's valuable. If I want to live or buy or sell in French Valley, there's only one person to talk to, and that's him. And I'll pay his fee because I'm going to get an advantage by having him on my team. If you're not giving somebody a distinct advantage for having you on their team, they're going to find a way to outsource you, commoditize you, go around you, not use you, not pay you. Because believe it or not, check this out. Believe it or not, buyers who don't pay the commission in real estate still think they're saving money if they don't use you to represent them as a buyer. Did you know that? Wait a minute. I can represent a buyer, and I can represent that buyer on the sale of a home, and the buyer doesn't pay me. The seller pays me, right? But do you know that most buyers think that they save money if they don't use you to represent them on the buy side? They think they're saving money. They're really just making the other agent twice the money. They're not saving money. A buyer, it's totally to a buyer's advantage to use a real estate agent because it doesn't cost them a penny. But they believe psychologically that it saves somebody money somewhere to not use an agent. So your buyer who knows that your commission is 5 or 6% typically, that they know that's what we make. That's not a secret. A lot of people think that's like some kind of secret. Don't talk about commission. Don't talk about everybody knows we're trying to get 5 or 6% commission on most real estate transactions. So buyers doing that math in his head, sellers doing that math in his head, and they're all counting our money. And they're all looking for a reason to not use us and not pay us. So when does a buyer or a seller happily pay my commission? It's when they believe that I am delivering more value than the dollar amount of the commission. If my buyer believes that by using me to buy that $1 million house, that I'm delivering more than $30,000 worth of value, then he uses me with a smile on his face. If he thinks I'm a stinking bum who only went on the internet and found everything that was for sale and then I just delivered it, regurgitated that information to him, does he think that was worth $30,000? Usually not. He thinks I'm an overpaid order taker. And he's looking for a way to not use me. Do you understand? They know how much money we tend to charge. And if they don't think we're delivering that much value, they resent us for it. And then they're looking for a way to get rid of us in the transaction. But if they think, oh my God, I am using the king of French Valley, and if I want to buy or sell in French Valley, I better call Dave Serpa because that guy Dave Serpa knows everything that crawls in French Valley. That guy Dave Serpa can tell me, oh, no, Mr. Buyer, don't pay $495 for that house. Pay $445 and not a penny more because it doesn't make sense above that number. That's valuable information. But if you're just an order taker, they don't think you've earned your money. They don't think you were worth it. You got to deliver value up here so that they go, I got to have that agent. There are people who say, I do not do business if Daron Campbell doesn't represent me. Why? Because they think I'm worth it. Why do they not question my paycheck? Because I must be worth it. If I weren't worth it, they would challenge my payday. If people don't think you're worth it, Zillow and these iBuyers and all of these opportunities to not use a real estate agent are making them question whether or not they should use you. The only way to beat that is to be more valuable than the money they think they're saving. Do you understand? Otherwise, you're on your way out. Otherwise, you are on your way out the door. Zillow will make you obsolete. You are the travel agent of the future. No future. Zillow would have us all be employees of Zillow, making $50,000 a year to be order takers. The only way the $1 million real estate agent survives is by delivering value that's greater than what the buyer perceives the information is worth. Does that make sense? Am I getting through to you? Is this computing? Wow, how did we get on all that? This conversation has gone like 180 degrees, but it's all related. It's all related. I'm trying to keep you in business. Where is this thing going, and how can I get there first? That's the theme of today. Where's your industry going, and how can you get there first? How about that? Ask yourself that question every morning. I believe in leads because I believe in more customers, and I believe in getting those leads and being able to translate the value that you deliver to those leads is the Holy Grail. I am in the lead generation game because I believe if you get more leads and you have a distinct value that you deliver, you will forever prosper. But those two things have to exist. You got to be able to deliver value, and then you got to be able to talk to more people. So lead generation is king, and then the value that you can deliver to those leads is what's going to keep you around and make you relevant forever. All right, I got a phone call a little while ago. My man Real Rel called and said he bought a two-bedroom flat in Chicago for cash. Good job, Real Rel. And he says, once I rehab it and get it rented out, should I use the equity to buy another and do the same, or just keep it, or keep the bank out of it? Okay, well, Real Rel, this is a good question. Good job to you for buying a property. So you got a two-bedroom place in Chicago. You paid cash for it. Good for you for saving up enough cash to be able to buy it. Real, I ain't gonna ask you what you did to get that cash. But no, that's just, I digress. All right, so you bought a place for cash, and you're gonna rehab it, you're gonna rent it out. Now you're saying, should you use the equity to buy another? Meaning, should you refinance it, pull money out, and go buy another one? And here's the answer to that question, Real Rel. Absolutely yes, you should pull that equity and go buy another one if, here's the big caveat, if you can rent that place out and that rent pays the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance and the maintenance and repairs on the property, and you still make a profit. Does that make sense? See, the game is about cash flow. The game is all about cash flow. So you got all that equity sitting in that place, and if the rent can cover the expense associated with refinancing it, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and repairs, and you still have money left over, that means you will have bought that property, you've taken the money back out of it, it's covering itself, and now you can go take that money and go buy another one. And that's how your portfolio grows. So you understand that, Real Rel? Yes. Yes, with an asterisk. Buy another property as long as this property, the first property, is cash flowing properly. If it's not cash flowing properly, then collect your rent until you get to the point where you've saved up another down payment to buy another property that will cover itself. You see, the game is not about owning real estate. It's about owning real estate that makes sense. We don't just want to have our name on title to a bunch of properties. We want to have our name on title to properties that pay us. Big difference. And you know what a lot of people don't do? They say, hey, my mortgage is $2,000 and I can collect rent of $2,100. I'm good. I'm cash flowing $100. Here's what most people don't do. They don't calculate the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance and repairs. Those also are part of that number. You're not really cash flowing if your property is not covering the mortgage, the insurance, the taxes, and the maintenance and repairs. Your property, your rental property has to cover all four of those, or it's not an asset. It's a liability. If you have to come out of pocket $1 every month, you are not cash flowing. That property is currently not an asset. It's a liability. It's a liability. If it loses money, it's a liability. If it cash flows, it's an asset. And don't be shy about doing the math. You know, a lot of people want to fool themselves about what's cash flowing and what's not. If it's not making a net dollar, a net profit after all the expenses, not just the mortgage, then that's the difference between it being an asset versus being a liability. You feel me, Real Rel? You got that? That's the tip of the day. But good job saving up enough money to pay cash for a place in Chicago. Good man. Now, the next step is make sure you're cash flowing before you buy the next one. So make sure, you got all that equity you're sitting there right now. Take advantage of it, but don't lose a dollar. Don't ever lose a dollar. So in all the real estate lessons I teach, maybe the most important one is don't be in the business of losing money. And listen, I'm guilty. I bought some stuff that I thought, hey, I'm buying it and it only loses this, but hey, look, I got this great piece of property. Bad move. Those were all bad moves. Only buy property where if it's not a quick flip where you can make some fast money, guaranteed, like sure you're sure, it's got a cash flow. Do the math. What is my mortgage going to be? What are my taxes? What is my insurance? And what should the maintenance and repairs be? Now, if the property pays for all that, you got yourself a good equation. Make sense? That's today's little cash flow tip. Thanks for the call, Real Rel. Thanks for giving us that question. If anybody else has any questions or wants to hit us up, you can call in at 818-914-4087. You can call and holler at me. You can call and talk to me. But that's today's tip. I always like to take a call and answer a question. But now we're talking about the future. We're future casting. We're talking about where is this thing going and how can I get there first? I love that. Somebody should make a song. Nick, make a song. Those are the lyrics. Where is this thing going and how can I get there first? And that's where your fortune lives, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever industry. I don't care what it is. Ronaldo, you're out there trucking. Ronaldo's delivering Teslas somewhere today. Who knows? We always had to go, where in the world is Ronaldo? Well, Ronaldo needs to be the first to own one of those Tesla self-driving 500-mile distance trucks. Why? Because that's where it's going. You know, the typical trucking, cousin Eric and Ronaldo are both in the trucking business. It's my cousin and my buddy, right? Well, if you guys are going to be forward thinking and you're thinking to yourself, in the past, in order to run a successful trucking company, you want to buy a fleet of trucks and then you want to hire a crew of drivers, reliable drivers, right? Well, where's this thing going and how can I get there first? Well, how soon is Tesla going to have a truck that can drive itself? Now, it may not be legal very quickly that truck could go solo, but how much more distance can I get out of a driver if that truck will take a shift and drive while that guy rests? Think about it. There are laws right now that make that trucker not drive more than a certain, Ronaldo would know this, or cousin Eric, that says that driver can't drive more than a certain number of hours. But if Tesla has a truck that will drive itself, have we just found a hack to the trucking system? Can we now run a truck for 24 hours without making the driver have to take that mandatory stop? Think about it. Where's this thing going and how can you get there first? Think about it. Think about it. What's your industry? Where is it going and how can you get there first? Real estate agents. The internet has changed the lead generation game. Where is it going and how can you get there first? You want to know more about how I'm starting to generate leads? Hit me up. Marlon and I are creating something that is going to use the internet to generate thousands and thousands of leads so that you can talk to more people, so that you can get more appointments, so that you can go belly to belly with more folks, so that you can do more deals, so that you can make more money. In a world where Zillow's trying to use the internet to get rid of you, we want to show you how to use the internet to do more business, because that's where this thing is going. Hey, that's where all the industry is going. You better think about how you're being affected. How's your industry being affected? Let's get more leads. Let's get more customers. Revenue is the key to everything. Revenue is the holy grail, ladies and gentlemen. You lead with revenue. How can you get more revenue in the front door so that you can then pay for more leads? Listen, Dan Kennedy says, the business that can afford to pay the most to acquire a customer wins the game. Now think about that for a second. What business can afford to pay the most to acquire a customer? That's the business that will win the game. Now, why is that? Some people say that doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes total sense. If I can deliver you, if Amazon can sell you a product for $2 and it takes Sears or Kmart $5 to deliver that same product, then Amazon can spend more than Sears to acquire the customer, because Sears and its old clunky system can't streamline the process, so it costs them $5 to sell you that thing, whereas it costs Amazon $2 to sell you that same thing. Who can afford to pay the most to market to you? Who can afford to pay the most to get you that product? Amazon can, because that product is cheaper for them. You see? So it's the business that can afford to pay to expose themselves to more customers that wins the game. I know that might be a little bit like complicated for some people to like fathom, but Trust me, that's the whole equation. What's a customer worth to you in your business? What is that customer worth? So then you can decide how much you can afford to pay to acquire that customer. If you don't know your numbers, ladies and gentlemen, you're headed for disaster. You got to know how much it costs you to do business. And for businesses like me, real estate agents, I got to know how much a customer costs to acquire. So then I can tell you, if I know that a customer is worth $10,000 to me, that relationship is worth $10,000 to me because he's a customer, he's going to buy something, and I'm going to make $10,000, then that also tells me how much I can afford to spend to acquire that customer. If a real client is worth $10,000 to me, then is it worth it for me to market in a way that costs me up to $5,000 to find that customer? That's called the cost of acquiring a customer. If the cost of acquiring the customer is justified by the money you make from that customer, then you should be spending that dollar to acquire that customer. Does that make sense? If one customer a month is worth $10,000 to me, then is it worth it for me to hire 4 people to call all day and spend $5,000 on cold callers to find that one customer? If I know they can find one customer a month, the customer's worth $10,000, and I can pay $5,000 to have 4 people calling to find that one guy. And if I believe that 4 people can find the one customer, I spend $5,000 to pay them to find them. That customer makes me 10. Does that math work? That math works all day long. I want you to start intelligently thinking about how you acquire your customers. I want you to think about how you can use today's technology. I want you to think about how you can use today's leverage to acquire more customers, to do more business. How much money should you be spending to create more business opportunities for yourself? I know a lot of times the money is tight, but sometimes you got to invest so that you can get more opportunities to make more money. You got to invest sometimes so that you get more bites at the apple. Sometimes you got to spend a little money so that you get more opportunities to sell your wares, your goods, your services to the next customer. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now, we're going to go deeper into that kind of thing. But I'm telling you guys, I'm now obsessed with lead generation because I want more customers. I'm obsessed with how do you get more leads and how do you get them as cheaply as possible so that you get more opportunities. So what I'm trying to do is create systems for businesses, people, real estate agents, services, etc., cheap ways to get more customers in the front door so that the cost of acquiring a customer goes down so that you can get more customers, so that you can do more business, so that you can stay afloat during what is about to be a significant shift in the economy. Does that make sense? Is that valuable at all? That's what we're going to be talking about in the future. We're going to generate more leads. If you're interested in generating more leads, doing more business, acquiring more customers, this is the place for you. If you want to know more about how I plan to help people generate lots more business, hit me up. Email me at info@DaronCampBell.com. Hit us up, and we're going to start to release more information about some systems and some tools that are going to help you find more customers. That's our plan. That's our plan. And now with just a few minutes left, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some topics and some experts we're going to be bringing in the future. So coming up soon, Angie, you mentioned where's the mortgage guy I said I was going to bring. I'm going to bring a mortgage expert in, actually a couple of them. I'm going to bring in a commercial mortgage expert very soon. And that guy's going to talk about how to finance apartment buildings and other income-producing property. I'm going to bring in a residential mortgage expert. That's an expert at low money down and no money down home acquisition. That's coming. I'm going to bring in an insurance expert. Here's a book that I'm going to recommend to you guys real soon. It's called Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance. It's going to tell you how you can use life insurance to grow wealth, build a retirement, build an annuitized income. I'm going to have an expert in here on life insurance in the next few days. I am a big student of food and diet and weight loss and weight gain and that kind of thing. So, like right now, I'm reading this publication about keto and the keto diet and how it works and how you can lose weight, gain muscle, etc. The low carb lifestyle. I'm going to bring in a keto paleo expert that's going to talk about food and how you consume it and how the smart way to consume it. I'm going to bring in an expert. Here's a book that I read recently that I think is got a funny title, but it's good. It's called Poop to Gold. It's about how these gentlemen basically created a marketing company that can basically take any product and take it to millions sold. And we're going to interview somebody on that topic. And much, much more. There's a whole lot more to come, you guys. I'm a big fan of mastery. I'm going to bring in some masters in some different fields. So I'm going to bring in a few master real estate agents. I'm going to bring in a few master coaches, life coaches. I'm going to bring in, I told you, a couple of mortgage masters, an insurance master, and a few more that I've reached out to that haven't committed yet, but we're going to get them. We'll get them on the show. It's all about finding experts so that we can learn something, so that we can glean something, so that we can steal something and incorporate it into our lives and get better and smarter. I'm even going to ask T. Harv Eker to come on the show. My man T. Harv, one of my mentors. He doesn't even know it, but he's one of my mentors, so I'm reaching out to T. Harv. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is a top 5 book for me. I'm going to see if T. Harv will come on the show. I also got, I won't even mention the name, but there's somebody real prominent that is interested in coming on the show, and you guys are going to be very excited and surprised to see who it is if he comes through. Knock on a little wood. Let's hope he comes. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. Let's all get better. Is this good? I don't know. You guys got to tell me if it's good. If this is boring or uninteresting, you got to let me know. If there's something you want to hear about or learn about, let me know. I'm not afraid to ask anybody. I'll ask anybody to be on the show. I ain't scared. All they can say is no, right? Look, I'm in sales. I get turned down every day. It's a regular thing. I'm in sales and I'm a man. I've been turned down plenty of times. Don't you worry about that. So if there's somebody you want to see on the show, let me know. And I'll ask them. I'll invite them. Oh, and then don't forget, tribe, I'm going to invite a bunch of you on the show. So get ready. Your invitation is coming too. I'm going to bring you on the show and I'm going to have you tell us your story. It's all about stories, you guys. Everybody's got something to learn from your story. And all these experts I'm bringing on board, we're going to make them tell us their story. I want to hear, that, you can make $1 million if you go into this or go into that. I want to hear their story. I'm going to ask them to tell us how they did it and tell us the pros and the cons, the victories, and even more importantly, the losses. Because everyone's on a journey, you guys. Look, the most successful people I know have failed at many things many times. And they're no exception. I'm no exception. And certainly you're no exception. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun. It's been the fastest 2 hours ever. I don't know how it goes by that fast. But this is the Road to $1 Million. This is RoadToAMillionShow.com. I'm Daron C. Campbell. I'm your real estate mentor. Everybody make it a great day. I'll see you at the top. Peace.